Welcome to No Stats, where we call it how we see it.
Back again with another one.
Yes, sir, bro. And we switching divisions, on our NFL season previews. So before we jump into this next division, as always, share, like, comment below. Make sure y'all ring that bell and subscribe because we're gonna continue flooding y'all with this content as usual. So make sure y'all hit that button.
All love is appreciated, baby.
Watch the handle, it takes skill. We gotta run it back. We in the field, and you said it Jason Jack. You in your field, we looking for the facts. Let's keep it real, yeah, we talking no stats. Yeah, we talking no stats. Yeah, we talking no stats.
All right, brother. We are moving into the AFC West. A division that a lot of people last year thought that every team could make the playoffs, right? It's a talented division, filled with talented quarterbacks. They did lose Derek Carr, the Raiders, and we'll get to them when we talk about them. But Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and then the Broncos, who acquired Russell Wilson last year, had a lot of expectation. So that's the team we're going to start with. We're starting with the Broncos. They finished last in the division. So we're going to work our way up the division. That's what we've been doing throughout the past two divisions. So starting with Denver,
a lot of money.
Yeah, whole lot. Whole lot. And I think a lot of people, bro, a lot of people thought this team was going to go far, right? Because of Russell Wilson, the defense, and things like that. But it ain't pan out for him. And a lot of people think a lot of it was coaching.
A lot of expectations, coaching. I think also figuring things out. I mean, some teams gel faster than others.
Right.
And sometimes you could bring in a new quarterback and this shit happens overnight. Quote unquote, what we seen with Tom Brady and the Bucks that Super Bowl run. But with Russell
and the
Wilson,
Rams and Stafford.
Yeah, Rams and Stafford. But with Russell Wilson and Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton, it just things just didn't seem right. So either the ball was either thrown, it wasn't in the spot, the receiver wasn't in the spot he's supposed to be in. It just seems like it was a lot of chemistry issues going on with the Denver Broncos last year.
Agreed, bro. And I think a lot of it was schematic issues. Coaching was a big thing to me. Some of the times, they made decisions that you just like, wait, what's going on? Russell Wilson didn't look like himself. And it could be, I'm not sure. I mean, it could be a Russell Wilson decline. I don't want to go there just yet. But a lot of these quarterbacks, I mean, outside of Aaron Rodgers, name the best quarterbacks in the league. When you look at them, they're all young, right? Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence. Like, these are young guys. It's a new generation, and Russell Wilson is still a part of that other generation. So it could be him going on a slight decline.
But and slight's a good word to use for it too. Like when you look at them, like you say, he's in that Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, that category too. Where like they're not as elite as they was 3-4 years ago, but they still got something left in the tank. And I think Russell Wilson has that.
Yeah, and I think the hope for Broncos fans, I know the hope for Broncos fans is the addition of Sean Payton. Right, Sean Payton and Drew Brees, what they did throughout the entirety of their career, only capturing one Super Bowl, but it was just success. You know what I mean? It was success year in and year out. Deep playoff runs, 10-plus wins. They were a really fun team to watch, right? Getting that Super Bowl was huge. Sean Payton retired, and he was willing to come out of retirement for the right situation, and it just so happened to be Denver. And this is a team that has been kind of trying to find his identity since winning that Super Bowl with Peyton Manning and Von Miller and the boys. So I think the Sean Payton thing has a lot of people excited. 5 wins last year seems crazy to think about, especially with the way the defense played. They just couldn't get nothing going on offense. And the hopes is that Sean Payton come in and changes that whole dynamic around.
So we'll see. For a reason, man.
He did. So let's jump into some of these losses and these additions. They lose a few pieces to the line, to the offensive line. Dalton Risner was the big one, but they did bring in Ben Powers to replace him, proven guy, and they also brought in Mike McGlinchey from San Fran, who was a big pickup to hold down that right side. They lose some running backs, right? So they lose Chase Edmonds, they lose Latavius Murray, but they get
One of
Javonte
your
Williams back.
boys.
So they get Samaje. They get Samaje Perine, who I like a lot. Sad to see him leave Cincy, but they get him to play that backup role. But they get Javonte Williams back, who was a stud 2 years ago, dealt with some injuries. But if he can come back and be that same player with that same amount of production, that'd be a nice 1-2 punch for them. They go and get Frank Clark from Kansas City, right? Who just coming off of a Super Bowl run. So you bring some of that in there. You get Zach Allen. You bring in you draft a wide receiver. You bring in Marquez Callaway to kind of bring some depth into that room behind Jeudy and Sutton. You get Tim Patrick back, who was hurt last year. So not too much change around. They did lose their kicker, Brandon McManus, who, was kind of consistent, and they lose Draymond Jones.
They did a good job too of whatever they lost, they kind of did a good job of trying to replace it. You see, they went down on the line, and then they added Ben Powers and Mike McGlinchey, however you say his name, and they did the same thing on the defensive line as well too. So,
I think that's what they did. But I think they invested in the trenches. Like I said, replaced the running backs with a guy like Samaje Perine, who's been in a winning organization. They tried to bring some of that pedigree from other places, right? Like I said, Sean Payton with the Saints, Frank Clark with the Chiefs, Mike McGlinchey with the 49ers, Samaje Perine with the Bengals. So they tried to bring in some proven players to help this team. My worry is, can Sean Payton put it all together, right? And like we said, does Russell Wilson still have it? If the Broncos were in the NFC, I would feel so much more confident about this Broncos team. But the fact that they're in the AFC, bro, is just tough, man. And we'll get to their schedule, but their division doesn't help. You got to play the Chiefs. You got to play the Chargers twice a year. You got to play the Raiders twice a year. That hurts. And then your out-of-division conference games are going to be tough as well. I think they play the Jets this season. So you playing teams that have the talent, right, and also they have the continuity. They already have that head coach quarterback chemistry. For all we know, Russell Wilson played his best ball, and I know it's only 1 year, right? So the sample size is kind of off. But with Pete Carroll, we don't know if he can really flourish under another head coach, and that's Sean Payton is the best bet you can go with, but that's where the question mark lies.
I think Russ bounced back this year. I think as bad as they played last season, he did show a couple signs of still having something left in the tank. But I don't think he wants to look on the previous season at all, and I don't think he could play that bad. And we should see a new, energized Russell Wilson for this upcoming season for Denver. So this team, I know we didn't get to the schedule yet, but I expect them to shoot out the gates, reel off maybe like 3 or 4 wins early. And kind of change the narrative around his name going forward.
I think a lot of Broncos fans, and I know a lot of the commentators last year watching this team play, they were saying Russell Wilson needs to get out and use his legs a little more because that's when he's dynamic, making throws on the run, running for those extra yards. And I agree with that notion, but again, does he still want to do that? Does he still want to run? And like I said, you're getting up there. Does he still have that same amount of that elusiveness? I think he still has a little bit in the tank. That's why I said slight. But it'll be interesting to see what they do. The good thing, like you said, though, 5 wins. I mean, I think you can only go up. They're not getting less than 5 wins this year. So,
absolutely.
But let's jump into it, brother.
That schedule. Pull that schedule up, somebody.
Yeah, we right into
there
it, bro.
There it is.
Like I said, 5-12 last year. Horrible. But the NFL did him a slight favor here with 2 home games, 2 softball underhand pitches at 25 miles per hour. I think they can start off 2-0, bro. I mean, you play the Raiders at home. There's questions around Jimmy G and his health. Will he be available? And if he's not ready for week 1, I definitely think this is a win. And even regardless, I think at home, I think Denver can pull this one out. And then they stay home and they got to play the Commanders, who defensively the Commanders have talent. I mean, they got some talent on both sides of the ball, right? But you got Sam Howell at quarterback, which is a big question mark, and they just went through this whole ownership overhaul, which we'll get into when we talk about the Commanders. So it's just a lot of changes and stuff going on there, and I think the Broncos should pull that out. So a lot of hype, 2-0. Sean Payton, he's doing his thing, but then they got to go to Miami, who I shared my thoughts on Miami briefly a few times. I just think they're going to be dogs this year. And Miami, I think that's a loss. But then
touchdowns. Lots of touchdowns.
Yeah, absolutely. But then they go to Chicago. I'm interested to see how this defense, I didn't touch on that in the previous slide, but I'm interested to see how this defense does. They lost their defensive coordinator. And like I said, they got some new pieces over there. But the Broncos defense has been stout.
With the good defense too, the defensive coordinator, which is Vance Joseph, he actually coached the Dolphins. I think he had 3 years in Arizona. He coached the Dolphins prior to going to Arizona, so it's a little bit of familiarity there. So I think they might be all right.
I think so too, bro. The Broncos defense has been consistent for years, right? And a lot of those players, they know how to. As long as you don't change the system up too much, I think they'll be fine. So I got them going to Chicago and winning that game. That'll be an exciting game, close, but I got Russell Wilson just pulling that out. But then they got 2 tough games. 3 of the next 4. So they 3-1, right? You're in a good spot. You only lost to the Dolphins on the road, but then you got to go back home against the Jets. I think this Jets defense has a lot of young players, and I think the Jets are going to start the season hungry and ready to go. You get a guy like Aaron Rodgers. I think it's gonna be tough to beat the Jets, bro. This Broncos team, I just don't think they have enough.
You know how much I was riding on the Jets in the offseason to get Aaron Rodgers. So, I think they're gonna start early. We'll save that for the Jets take, though.
No, absolutely. I wanted to give the Broncos that win, but Jets win in Denver, and then it doesn't help because then they got to fly to Kansas City and play the defending champs and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce and Chris Jones, who didn't report to camp, but we'll talk about that and try and get a new deal. But then they got to go to Kansas City. I think that's a tough ask. I think that's a loss. I'm not going to spend too much time there. Then they go back home to play the Packers. I think this is a very winnable game at home. Coming off a home loss, I don't see them. And especially with the opponent you got coming in next week, this is kind of an emphasis like, let's get this win because losing 4 straight could put you in a really bad situation before the bye. So the Packers game, they'll be focused and locked in. Get that win. And then they got to play the Chiefs at home. And for a little off-camera conversation that me and Peach had, Peach was saying, I think they can upset the Chiefs in one of those games. And I said, well, the game in Denver, Patrick Mahomes has yet to lose a road game against a division team inside his division. It's yet to happen. Denver has came close, honestly, a couple years, but it has yet to happen. I don't see it happening.
The thing that I'm saying, too, when you play a team in that 2 weeks, man, I think it's going to be. I think it'll be harder for the Chiefs to win that game. We might see Patrick Mahomes take his first L, or we might see all right, we're coming off a loss to the Jets. It may have been about a field goal. Now we're going into Arrowhead. Let's make a statement today. Today in Arrowhead. I think they could get one of those Chiefs games.
And that's a great point though, Peach. And I'm looking at my phone because I want to see the Chiefs schedule because depending on who they play week 7. Right? Like, let's say they have to play, like, the Eagles week 7. I know they got the Eagles. Maybe they can catch them, in a banged-up, vulnerable state. So I just want to quickly see. We're going to do the Chiefs, but I just want to quickly see who they play week 7. So the Chiefs have, like I said, it's not a Chiefs takes, but they have 3 divisional games. They have Broncos, Chargers, Broncos, 6, 7, 8. So I don't know, bro. That might be a hot take. I'm not too opposed to that. I'm not too opposed to it.
Right.
I'm not too opposed to it.
The division games be like this.
Yeah, bro. And like you said, they'll have lost to them, right? They'll be 4-3. This is a big game before the bye. It's a big game. You get your team. We say, listen, we play our asses off. It's gonna be physical, but we get a week to rest after this. So maybe We'll talk
They
about it
got the
afterwards.
guys just beat us. They just beat us.
Yeah,
Where we
maybe,
at?
maybe.
Where we at?
I'm
We in
not
the
too opposed
bye.
to that one.
We're going into
Yeah,
the
with
bye
the
at
bye
what?
now.
4-3, 4-4.
4-4 going into the bye. 500. But in the grand scheme of things, you're 1 win away from tying your record last year.
Yep. It was way better through the first 8 weeks of the season this year than he was last year.
Absolutely. But then you come out of the bye, right? You got to play Buffalo. Buffalo's a talented team. Josh Allen is a hell of a quarterback. But I'm not too high on the Bills. But I'm not too high on the Broncos either. So I think the Bills will pull that out at home. Then they got to play the Vikings. I struggled to go back and forth with this one. But I gave the Vikings the win in Denver, ultimately. I just, for some reason, I see this being one of those Justin Jefferson games. I know they got Patrick Surtain, who's probably, if not the best, probably the second best corner in the league, third best corner in the league. But I just see the Vikings pulling this one out. I like what Kevin O'Connell's doing over there, so I got them taking that L there. But then they're home against the Browns. They'll win that. Then they go to Houston. I got that being a win. They go to the Chargers. I think the Chargers going to have too much firepower offensively for Denver to keep up. And then they got to go to Detroit.
High-scoring game.
Yeah, it is, bro. And I think the Detroit game will be too. I think that 3-game road trip is tough. So I think they have to beat the Texans because I think they're going to lose those next 2. But then they finish the season out on a 3-game win streak, bro. Beat the Patriots at home. Beat the Chargers at home. And then finish the season off with the Raiders.
That season is strong, Denver.
9-8, which in the NFC, bro, we can pretty much guarantee you a playoff spot. But this AFC, man, I don't know if 9-8 will do it.
So
I don't know if 9-8 will do it.
We gotta shake something up. I need that Chiefs dub.
So Chiefs dub, right? All right, change the L to a W. Can you see any W's change to an L?
It's crazy, and this might, a lot of people might look over this, but I can see maybe week 18, you already done beat the Raiders in week 1, maybe week 18 in Oakland. You know what I'm saying? But then again, who knows if Oakland is maybe playing for a draft pick. If they send their starters, who knows what position they'll be in, because they're in this division as well too. And I don't think they're gonna have a contention on winning it.
No.
But week 4 at the Bears could be interesting.
That could be interesting. I agree.
I'm
gonna rock with you on the loss to the win. I'm gonna go. I actually, you convinced me. I brought that nugget up that Patrick Mahomes haven't lost a road game in the division. All good things come to an end. I don't think that's going to be sustainable over the life of his career. And I think this will be a big game right before the bye. Like I said, looking at the Chiefs' schedule, division. That's going to be tough. So I like that, bro. That was a hell of a take. I'm gonna change that one to a win for the Broncos. But with that being said, I think I'm gonna, and I know it's gonna be a 3-game losing streak, and that's not really gonna sit well. But week 16, bro, home versus the Patriots, and hear me out. I think Bill Belichick has a lot of familiarity with Sean Payton, the new head coach. He has a lot of familiarity with Russell Wilson. Played in the Super Bowl against him. Like, these are players that there's tape. You understand their tendencies because of the history. And I think the Patriots play that physical brand of football. Maybe Matthew Judon can get Russell Wilson running on his heels a lot. And I think the Patriots could pull that one out if they sleep, go home and sleep after that road trip. So I would probably change that. But we got 9-8, but you think 10-7 is very possible. I think so.
I think 10-7 is definitely possible. And I agree with you on that Patriots take. I think that'll be a real grinded out game. Low scoring. See a lot of field goals there. Bill Belichick coaches that type of style. That slow pace. Drive it down. We're gonna hit the check down 3 times in a row. We're gonna run 3 times on this drive. Agreed. So I definitely agree with the week 16 upset the Patriots.
Yeah, but like I said, bro, you plus 4 wins from last year. 9-8, maybe. And if you're 10-7, I think you could probably sneak in through the back door. But again, you got to worry about the rest of the division, the rest of the conference. But Broncos fans, I know y'all watching. Let us know. Are we giving y'all? You think this is a little lofty, or do you think y'all going to the Super Bowl? But yeah, however you feeling, let us know.
We give much love, but then we not give enough. We like 10-7 though. Y'all heard it here first. We like 10-7.
10-7, 9-8.
And we give y'all that Chiefs dub. Woo!
That's a big one. That's a big one.
Oh, and everybody, make sure y'all Cash App. Everybody send $1 that's viewing this. It'll make up for the compensation that Russell Wilson and this Denver team owes me from the last season.